Hey guys, just before we get into the episode this week, I wanted to let you know that we did decide to skip the news this week. It just kind of gave us more time to focus on getting to know Ssegrum a little bit better and kind of getting his background in horror, and it was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoy. I also wanted to let you guys know that the outro this week is going to be a little bit different. It is actually going to be our season 2 teaser music that is the outro this week. It was fun to kind of figure out what order we were going to do and how we put it together, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know your guesses. And with that, I won't keep you guys any longer. We could head straight on into the episode.
Welcome everyone to the interim episode of the Here's Johnny podcast. Not quite season 1, not quite season 2. My name is Larry.
And my name is Justin. So, Larry, it's been a very interesting week this week for the both of us, I think.
Yeah, not only that, we have a guest on the show this week. His name's Matt. Matt, say hello.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. He is our first patron, and he got to pick a movie out for us to review this week. And since he's our first patron and it kind of fit out well, we invited him on. But before we start to learn more about Matt, Justin, what's been up with you?
Well, we had a recent kind of blow up on Twitter, which was nice the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we have some news about that, maybe.
Oh no, that one is being kept a secret. You might have the Twitter trolls making me release stuff early, but we are not breaking that one until closer to the time.
Okay, I'll give you that one at least. Other than that, I've just kind of been plugging away at my backlog of games, and that's really it. I did that cooking thing, making a gingerbread man.
Well, yeah, tell the audience what that's about, because only 2 people besides me and you have seen it.
Oh yeah, so I just, over the course of like a day and a half, I cooked a gingerbread man and tried to make it look like Gary Busey, and it turns out even I can't make something look that shitty. So I am going to maybe do one this weekend as well for next week, but I haven't quite figured it out.
And again, Justin has decided, because he doesn't want to put his mug out there everywhere, that these are patron exclusive videos. So if you are a patron, then you are able to see Justin cook for you. Matt, you have seen this. What did you think about it?
I didn't see the finished product. I watched the first part of it when I was at work, and then I forgot.
Oh,
Justin, how
okay.
does it feel that your patron doesn't care about your hard work?
That's okay. He gave me the money anyways. But other than that, I haven't really been up too much. What about you, Larry?
Yeah, so I've actually had a pretty busy week. I beat Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and my first, I didn't use a guide or anything, and I had an 89% completion. I also finished 2 seasons of American Horror Story, so now I have seen all of them up to, I haven't seen any Apocalypse, but I watched Freak Show and Cult. And Cult is by far the worst. I hated it.
So was Cult the one that's on right now?
No, Apocalypse is the one that's on right now. Cult was one from last year where it focused on the aftermath of Trump's election. My problem with American Horror Story Cult was that cults are scary, right? I mean, just reading about them or hearing about any kind of cult, it's terrifying because they're able to get these people to do small things, and the next thing you know, they're doing Charles Manson style murders, right?
Yeah.
And in this one, they hopped into murders right away. I wanted to see the build up. I wanted to see this person start to lure him in slowly, and I thought they went too far with it, and it took away the fear. If that makes any sense. I think for my blog post this week, I'm going to rank the American Horror Story seasons, and it is by far the worst. It is by far the worst. But with all that, let's wrap this up. Matt, however you want to be called, Ssegrum in the Discord, for those wondering, also on Twitter. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have some questions for you so we can get to know you a little better, and so can our audience. And the first one is, why do you love horror?
Well, for me, it's kind of been like a bonding experience with my stepdad. He's watched horror movies ever since I was young, and really, I didn't always like horror movies. I've slowly come to like them through being desensitized to watching them, because he forced me to watch them for so many years. And really, it started with, you're a big Resident Evil fan. I actually started watching him play the Resident Evil games. And this started this huge zombie craze. I love all the zombie movies. Those are my favorite. I love, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. I like the comedy ones too. I'll pretty much watch any zombie movie at least once. I still haven't seen Dead Snow. That one's on my list.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for when we get to the zombie season of our podcast, because for me, like the thing I like most about horror is like the social commentary you get out of the really good horror films. And so I'm really going to push when we get to zombies to do Romero's first Night of the Living Dead, because it's so good. Like the social commentary in that, to me, really shows why, yeah, people like kind of laugh and horror is its own thing, but I think horror can really give a glimpse into society that other films really can't.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite themes in horror, I was actually talking to a coworker about this earlier today because we were watching Stranger Things, is that a lot of different horror movies and shows and things like that, no matter how like scary the monster is or how bad it is in the movie, a lot of the times the worst villains are actually the people, not the monster.
Frankenstein, for example, like the old, like the book obviously, but the old Universal horror film, like it absolutely, that Dr. Frankenstein is the monster, not the actual monster. It's, yeah, horror's awesome.
Yeah.
So the next thing I want to ask you, even though we did ask you on the Discord when you first joined, what's your favorite horror movie?
That's such a hard question. There's so many good ones. I think I believe even when you asked me, my answer was Alien. That's like just a good classic movie, and I love sci-fi too, so it had a little bit of everything that I like. And I also I like Alien because a lot of times you don't really see the monster. Like they build the tension more by what you don't see than what you actually see, and I love that type of horror, like not so much jump scares and things like that, but just like what your imagination creates in the background when you're watching stuff.
It's actually something I liked about the movie we're going to be reviewing, is I like that a lot too.
It's always important to me, like, especially if you look back at like a lot of the horror movies made in like the 80s, when they had enough budget to make the scares, but they didn't have enough budget to really show anything. They left it up to your imagination to scare you.
Yeah, a lot of times I actually like the practical effects in older movies better. Like I think they hold up better sometimes.
Yeah.
100%.
You know, even like one of my favorite movies, not exactly horror, but is the original Jurassic Park. And just that scene with the T-Rex standing in the rain, it gives me chills like every single time. And I know that they used a lot of practical effects for that, and it gives you like a little bit more realism in some instances when they use it well.
And I think one of the most perfect examples of that is comparing the original Nightmare on Elm Street to the new one, when they do Freddy's face popping through the wall. Like in the original, that was a practical effect. Like they put like saran wrap over the wall and some production guy shoved his face into it. Whereas in the new one, they did CGI, and like there is such a difference, and the old one looks better. And it's like, just stick with the practical effects if you can. Yeah. I agree 100%. But with that, on to our next question. Matt, what is your favorite scary game?
Well, I did mention, really the only ones that I've played myself are Resident Evil. And then I played Blue Gender on the Dreamcast.
Yeah, I don't even think I've ever heard of that.
It's some kind of like alien sci-fi game. It's been so long since I've played it. I played for a while, but it's like I can't even. I'm not even going to do it justice because I can't remember the plot of it. It was like this survival horror-ish game on the Dreamcast. Like my stepdad again loves survival horror games, so he got the Dreamcast just for Code Veronica, and so you know he played a ton of that, and then he got that Blue Gender game, and I tried that out, and it was pretty fun. But gosh, he gave me so much hell because the first time I played, I think it was RE2, I used up like 112 darts trying to kill one zombie dog. I just stood there shooting at it while it like ran in circles, and I finally killed it, and then I think the other one like murdered me immediately. And he was just like, you need to just run by.
Yeah, that's actually when I did the knife only run a few weeks ago of the Resident Evil remake. Like, I don't think I could do that with tank controls. Like, I don't think I could dodge all the zombies I dodged in that playthrough if I was like using the old control style. Because like, yes, you are supposed to run by him, but the controls are so shoddy. It's so hard to do it.
Oh, just wait. I think in a little bit here, I think we're gonna get to a certain span where it's a lot of tank control games. I'm sorry for that, but
just give me a heads up so I have plenty of time to play it, because it will take me a while.
Okay.
I did think it was interesting that they were talking about like with the Resident Evil 2 remake, you obviously don't have tank controls, but how that caused like a certain level of tension as well, and like claustrophobia, because you couldn't really see what was around the corner and it was hard to move. And so they still have that like close up over the shoulder view. They wanted to use that for the remake, so you get that same kind of like claustrophobic feeling that you had from the original Resident Evil games.
You understand entirely why they did it, because they had the pre-rendered backgrounds, and forcing the user or the player to have a forced perspective of the surroundings increases the horror, because then the director or the whoever's designing the plot can actually make the scares happen.
Yeah, I mean, we were actually just talking before, Larry, about you playing Silent Hill and
Homecoming.
something. Yeah, Silent Hill Homecoming, and you said like there was a scare and you missed it.
Yeah, because I was looking in an entirely different direction, and I heard something happen, and I saw this cart had just come down the stairs, and like if it had forced me, I would have probably been afraid, but I didn't actually. I wasn't afraid, so we'll see.
It's okay, that game's trash anyways, but whatever. So, do you have a favorite monster, like, out of the...
Yeah, it doesn't need to be an actual monster, just, like, a favorite horror villain.
Favorite horror villain? Oh, man. That is a super difficult question. I mean, I did say I do love zombie movies, and really, like, I really like the slow-moving zombie. Again, because of Resident Evil and old zombie movies, like, I think the slow-moving zombies are so much scarier than the running zombies. And it's because it's the same reason that like Mike Myers is scary, is that you can't get away. No matter how fast you run, it's going to catch up with you. Like there's nowhere to go. It never stops. It doesn't sleep. Like you can't sit still because it's going to catch up with you. It just has that.
Man, it's just like the It Follows thing. Like
Exactly. Yeah, that movie, I mean,
it scares the crap out of me.
I really like that movie, and I love the like whole vibe of the movie, because I like anything with kind of like that 80s 70s 80s vibe. Like my new house that we just got has wood paneling in the basement, and that's like 50% of the reason I bought it. Like I love that whole atmosphere. So with that in the movie, on top of just like the creepy monster and that same again sense of like impending doom, like you can't get away, and especially in that, like, because you don't even know which one is the monster. Like you're never sure if it is or not.
All right, do you happen to have a favorite horror book?
Recently I've just gotten more into reading horror. I had a ton of Goosebumps as a kid, if that even counts. Like that was
No, for sure it does.
Oh yeah, like if you gave me like, especially the Choose Your Own Adventures from later series, like the one with the foil covers, those used to scare the crap out of me. Like
yeah, like I read a ton of Goosebumps, ton of Fear Street. Do you remember Fear Street? Those were like the slightly scarier ones. There was actually, my dad not too long ago brought me a box of my old Goosebumps books, and I was unpacking, and there's still this one cover that gives me chills, because I'm terrified of sharks. Like I have a horrible shark phobia, which is strange because it's the one with like the killer whale looking shark underneath the water.
Yeah, it's called Deep Trouble.
Yeah, it's like reminiscent of the Jaws, cover. Like that cover kind of creeps me out. Like I love watching the movies and reading the stories and stuff, but like I don't go in past like my ankles of the ocean anymore. Like I just can't.
For sure, it's crazy because I agree with you. Like I don't like going to the ocean because I just see no reason to like go put myself in that kind of risk. But one of my bucket list things to do is go shark diving, like in a cage.
Oh, you couldn't pay me
insane.
I have no desire.
So crazy. You're crazy.
I told my fiance
no, thank you.
Like if we end up going to like a beach or something like that for a honeymoon, like that's my one stipulation, is that I want to go shark diving. Like you don't have to come with me, but I'm going to do it.
So with all that, Matt, do you have a trend in horror that kind of gets under your skin and irks you a little bit?
I will say something that started to irk me is all the like the Samara lookalikes. The first time I saw The Ring, like it really creeped me out. Like that was one movie that some people don't find it scary, but it really creeped me out a lot. And like I still don't like creepy little kids in movies. I just am not a fan. But like I've seen so many different things now with like the movie covers where it's just like that girl like looks like she just climbed out of a well with like the dark hair hanging over her face. Yeah, and it's just like she's like everywhere now. She's even in like the parodies. Like I'm just kind of tired of seeing that. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of jump scares either, unless they're used like sparingly. Because I listened to the review this week because I waited until I watched the movie to listen to the podcast about it. But what The Conjuring does well is there's a lot of moments where they build tension and then nothing happens. They just did a great job with that, because they pretty much, like you said, they never let the tension drop. It's just like you're just tense the whole movie.
Yeah, James Wan is terrifyingly good at that. But the last thing, Matt, if you want people to find you on social media, where can they find you?
So I'm on Twitter. I just changed it, I'm pretty sure. So it should be at Ssegrum. It's SSEGRUM. And other than that, I'm not really on a lot of social media. That's mainly what I use now, because it's real easy to pick what I'm going to focus on and not look at all the other crap.
And with all that, Justin, ready to run through the plugs and get into the bulk of this?
Yeah, let's go through these quickly, and then we can get into the fun part.
All right. If you want to email the show, our email is here'sjohnnypodcast@gmail.com. On Twitter, the show is here'sjohnnycast, and you can find me at BeaverLA.
And you can find me at PickleThing. The link for the Discord is in the show notes as always. And if you go on Facebook, just search up Here's Johnny Podcast, and it should come up.
We have our own website. The link for that, because it's a little bit too long, is also in the show notes. And on there, you can find links to the master list. You can now also, as of this week, find links to all the movies and games that have been reviewed by the show, as well as both mine and Justin's blog. And like Justin said, he started his this week.
Yeah, and don't mind that it looks like it was written by a 5-year-old. Yeah, you can also search us up on YouTube. It's just youtube.com/Here's Johnny Podcast. Right now, it's mostly just the episodes, but I'm sure eventually we will have something else up there.
Yeah, Justin's working on some side projects. And then the last place you can find it, if you want to, is on the Instagram. We post behind-the-scene pics. We post pictures of our notes, as well as you can keep track of what's happening daily. Like the blog post will be on there. When the show drops, it'll be on there. All that fun stuff's there. But with all that being said, we're going to head on into the review of the 2016 film The Boy. That Matt picked out for us all to review. It is The Boy. It came out in 2016, and it was directed by William Brent Bell.
And Gary Busey is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, there are no killer gingerbread people. I'm not sure if you know any other Bell's work, but he directed the horror film Stay Alive in 2006, which is about a video game that comes to life.
Okay, so yeah, that was actually the first movie I rented from my job at Blockbuster. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that movie means a lot to me. I hate it, but it means a lot to me.
He directed that one, and he also directed The Devil Inside, which came out in 2012. The film stars Lauren Cohen, and everybody should know her. She plays Maggie on The Walking Dead, and she also played Martha Wayne in Batman vs. Superman. The music was done by Bear McCreary, and he actually has a lot of big things to his name. He did the music for 10 Cloverfield Lane. He did the scoring for Happy Death Day. And he did all the music for Battlestar Galactica, the television show. The film was shot on a budget of $10 million, and it grossed $64.2 million, so not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
And the film was actually shot on location at the Craig Durrott Castle in British Columbia. So that wasn't a set, that was an actual home that someone lived in, which I thought was pretty cool.
In Canada, what's up?
And then we don't really talk about like other like critical responses or anything like that, but I did think it was fun to note that GQ in 2017 said that it was the most underrated horror film of 2016. So I thought that was kind of cool to note. Maybe we don't really talk about what other people say because we want to kind of give our own opinions, but
yeah.
I did think it was fun to note that it was kind of seen as like a sleeper horror film.
I can totally see that. Like, I've heard of this movie before, but I never really even thought about watching it. So, and I'm glad we did. Like, not to give too much away, but I'm glad we watched it.
Incredibly creeped out by the preview. They're like, nope. Not a fan of creepy dolls. Not gonna watch that.
But yeah, so with that, everybody knows who's been listening. We're going to do our 60-second plot summary. But in case people are unaware, we are going to talk about all aspects of the plot. So this is your first and only spoiler warning. So with that, Justin, you want to give me a countdown?
Yeah, sure thing. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
So Greta shows up to this big old creepy castle, and she is there to babysit a kid. And when she meets the old lady and the old man, she soon finds out that this kid is actually a doll, and there's a lot of rules that they want her to follow with the doll. They treat the doll like a real kid. Super creepy. And the old couple leave, and she starts hanging out with the doll, which the doll freaks her out, so she covers the face up and starts going to sleep. And then creepy things start happening, like her clothes start moving around. She gets locked in the attic, all this fun stuff. There is a grocery guy who comes in and kind of hangs out with her. So she starts to realize that this doll is actually alive, and she shows the grocery guy that it is actually alive. And that's all fun. I'm running out of time. I'm blanking. So basically, end of the story. Find out the doll isn't actually alive. The Brahms, the kid, is actually living in the walls, and he's 30 years old, and he's been like stalking Greta, and he wants to like do her, and then Greta stabs him in the face, and she runs away, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, time. Okay, yeah. I mean, you pretty much got it. Like, huh? Maybe 60 seconds is too long.
Sometimes, I mean, like I said, when we get to crap like Suspiria, and like I think The Shining, trying to do a 60-second plot summary would have been hard.
Yes.
I think it would have been hard.
But like, I don't know, movies like this.
I know. And maybe in the future, Justin, too, we can just take turns doing it. If you want to.
Yeah, that might work. You know what? I feel comfortable enough with your 60 seconds. I think I might just pass it over to Matt if you want to do it.
Yeah, sure. I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Matt, are you ready to do this?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a shot.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so hottest nanny ever shows up because she's on the run from an old, like, stalkery boyfriend. And she's out there to get some easy money. She meets this old couple, finds out that the kid she's supposed to be babysitting is actually a really creepy doll. They give her a bunch of rules to follow. They leave, and then of course she immediately breaks the rules, covers his face, goes off and like drinks wine and passes out. Weird stuff starts happening. She has some creepy dreams. There's a grocery guy that does come around. She starts asking him about the doll, and he tells her that there was like a really creepy little boy that used to live there that died in a fire. Creepy stuff still happens. The doll's alive. She starts following the rules, and then old boyfriend shows up, busts the doll, and then you find out that the doll was actually not possessed like you thought it was the entire movie. It's actually, dang it.
Right.
Hey, you got the main point. You did a lot better and got a lot further than I would have.
Yeah, and you definitely filled in a lot of the plot points that I dropped in my quick summary.
Yeah, I almost got there.
But yeah, with that being said, we'll just go into pros and cons. We'll kind of just go around. Do you want to go first, Matt? What are some of the pros you found about this when it came to plot?
So I really did. I liked the twist at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I was really expecting, like, especially the part that stands out to me is right after the boyfriend busts the doll, you start hearing that like banging in the walls. And I was like, oh no, the ghost is loose. We're going to see what this thing looks like. And then all of a sudden, the mirror busts and this full grown man in a doll mask steps out. And it was just like, oh, that was not what I expected at all. So that was like a big pro for me. It did have like quite a few like really good creepy moments. It was one of those things too, like I am not a huge fan of dolls, like they creep me out. So like that was a big point of tension for me throughout the movie, was literally just the doll sitting in the room. It's just like, that is a creepy doll. No, thank you. I actually did. I won't get into my scores yet, but I think there were some really good like creepy shots in the movie.
Sure.
Specifically the ones where they were talking in another room and the doll was like quote unquote asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like the doll was just laying there listening to them. Like I loved those shots of the doll like in the bedroom staring into the darkness, like listening to what they're talking about. I just thought those were some like really good creepy stills throughout the movie. And I like the way that they did the doll movement and just the way they positioned it. And I thought it was really great.
Justin, how about you? What are some pros you have for this?
I have to agree with Matt 100%. Like, I did not see that twist coming. I feel like I actually have seen the ending of this movie, like, on YouTube or something like that, but I
really?
forgot about it. Yeah, I forgot. Like, I used to watch, like, all those, like, top 10 scariest, you never saw it coming horror movie endings, but I think they did a really great job with, like, the switching up. The whole time I thought it was a ghost. And to switch it up, and, like, when Brahms is, like, coming out of that mirror, it's just, like, it's terrifying. Well, you know what? That's really the only pro I have. I will get into cons later. What about you, Larry?
Yeah, so for me, I agree. I'm kind of surprised, but I did not see that coming. I had no idea that the doll wasn't actually alive. I thought for sure there was a ghost. It really, really, really cut me off guard, and I really give them props for that because the plot development was done really well. And even before the plot twist happened, I really like how they were using the doll, because I mean, Matt talked about it a little bit. I liked how when he was laying in the room, it looked like he was listening in on conversations, and when they showed the doll moving around, you never saw the doll moving around. We talked about that earlier. Sometimes what you don't see is even more scary than what you actually do see.
Yeah, I feel like if I had to watch that doll move around, I probably would have laughed.
Yeah, because it was so creepy, and like, yeah, I definitely think that was done really, really well. And another thing I had is I thought they did a very wonderful job when it came to like keeping the audience guessing as to what happened, like what's happening, versus the plot development. I thought that was done masterfully well.
After you find out that it is this like grown man living in the walls, which is like a nightmare come true, it kind of made sense why she had all those rules.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't know if I liked or not was the fact that the mother, specifically the one part where the mom and dad are leaving and she just says, "I'm sorry," and then leaves. I don't know. I feel like that was like, okay, yeah, they're going to off themselves or something like that. Like it's...
Well, I never got that they're going to kill themselves. I thought they were just going to go away and never come back. That caught me off guard too. I didn't actually see that happening. I just thought they were literally going to disappear. Let's go vacation or something. Just literally go away and not come back.
I will say, I think it's kind of a weird way how they did it. I feel like they could have done it a lot easier.
Well, I mean, it's a throwback because I think that happens in like the Odyssey. I think that's how Odysseus' wife kills herself, is that she throws rocks in her pockets and walks out into the ocean. Like, it's like an old throwback to that kind of stuff. But we can go into cons. We can just all go at it at once. Matt, do you want to go ahead and start off?
Yeah, so speaking of the parents killing themselves, that whole part was just really weird to me, especially after finishing the movie and thinking back on it. Like, it kind of made sense to me throughout the movie, like when I still thought the doll was possessed or something, because I'm like, okay, they're cursed, they can't get away, they have to kill themselves. And then at like the end of the movie, I was like, they literally could have just like left and not come back. Like, he's not gonna find them, the house. Like, why did they have to go to that extreme? Like, they left some other person there to take care of him. Like, they could have just like gone on a holiday and come back, for that matter. Like, it's their son, why are they creeped out by their own son? So that, like, that part of the plot kind of, when I got to really thinking about it, didn't really make sense to me. So that was kind of a con for me. I'll say that, and there was just like some other parts that kind of didn't make sense. Like, I don't understand why she passed out in the attic. Like, she just kind of like turned around and like saw a mannequin, and then...
Well, she hit her head, right? Like she tripped over that thing when she saw that thing. She tripped over the mirror and she hit her head.
Okay, I just, like, it wasn't clear to me that she hit her head. Like, it looked to me like she saw something and then like had about a narcolepsy. And another thing that kind of bothered me was like the random dream sequences. Like, I feel like they, like you said, they did a really good job with like moving the doll without you actually ever seeing it move. Like that one scene where they pan over and the doll is sitting there with the rules on the bed next to it, just like staring into your soul. That like, that was such a good creepy scene. And then they've just got like the random like portrait that grabs her neck, and it's like it just seemed kind of out of place, because they otherwise I think they did a really good job of like building the creepy atmosphere. And one funny point though actually about the dreams was the one, the one where she like walks in and the head turns all of a sudden. That made me jump so hard. And I went, Jesus. And then immediately after that in the movie, she wakes up and goes, Jesus. And I was like, oh, I guess that was the proper reaction to that.
Yeah, like I feel like with the dreams and everything, that really made me think it was a ghost, like the spirit or whatever was like influencing her dreams. I don't know. There was just I think they did a really good job playing the ghost card for the longest time, but I feel like some of it was a little try hard, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but for me, I have a couple of cons as well. A big one for me is that I thought Greta's backstory was convoluted and unnecessary. I think that didn't need to be in there at all. Like I really like they could have come up with a much simpler. Like it was an easy money. Like it could have been a lot simpler as to the reason why she decided to go and do that. And I thought, like, it's not like they kept trying to like develop that plot, and I don't think it was needed. I don't think there was any reason to have it. And I don't think even bringing her ex-husband or whatever in there, like I get it's because she had, like her ex-husband like caused her to have a miscarriage, but I think you could have done that without having that. Like I think you could have said like maybe she had a little sister who died or anything like that. I think they didn't need to bring that character in, and I think it was like too much extra, and I don't like that it was there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with that she went from he's not real to I will never leave you within the span of like 20 seconds.
Yeah, and then see that's another thing I have, because I have first being the grocery guy wasn't realistic at all, and that was mainly because if you realize that the doll is alive and you don't get the hell out, everything that happens after that is on you. And like the grocery guy, like he was like attracted to the girl, like, and like we said, Maggie Cohen, like Lauren Cohen, she's very, very pretty, but like I don't care, I'm getting the hell out. Like you literally saw that the doll moved. I'm gone. Like there is no one. And if you want to come with me, I encourage you to do it, but there is no way, no man, no woman, no anybody is going to stay in that house when that exists. But with all that being said, Matt, what did you give a score for plot?
I give it like a 6.5, just because we did talk about some of those like wonky moments, you know, where she just like totally turns around and all of a sudden she's carrying the doll around the house, and like, you know, why didn't she just leave at that point or even try to leave? You know, because they could have totally done something with that. You know, that's like a common thing. Like they try to get out and they can't. You know, that adds tension, and so they kind of, you know, they could have done something with that. I feel like I feel like a 6.5 is even kind of high. It was because I didn't see the twist coming at the end. Like I liked the ending. Like I thought that was great. You know, it's not often I feel like that a movie surprises me, because there's so many, you know, tropes and just, you know, predictable things that happen in horror movies. So for it to just like flip around like that, I just totally didn't see it coming. So I loved that. But then you know, there were just a few parts of the movie that didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, like when I thought back about it.
Yeah, for sure. Justin, what did you give it?
So I actually gave it a 6. Originally I was going to give it a 4, but like Matt said, like the ending really just, I went from, this is an okay movie, I guess, to like the end, the last like 10 minutes, I was like, all right, I'm in. Like, let's do this. Like, it was awesome. I think they did a really good job for that, and I just easy 6 points right there.
I also gave it a 6, and you guys pretty much covered everything I was going to say. So next into cinematography, I have a couple pros, and we can just kind of all just hop in on here. But the first one I have is that it's a pretty movie. Like I thought it was shot well. It looked good. It was not a lot of jump cuts, which was really, really nice for me.
It was filmed in Canada, that's why.
I really, really enjoyed the doll's point of view shots. Like we talked about that earlier, but I thought that was a really, really, really cool thing that they did. Like when the doll was walking around, or we thought the doll was walking around, we had that shot, or when it went shot to the doll listening into conversations. I thought that was a really cool way of doing it, and I liked that part of it. But yeah, that's my pros I have. How about you guys? What do you have?
I think you kind of like touched on the things that I liked. Like I said, I really liked I did like the point of view shots of the doll. Just the way that they framed a lot of shots to where the doll was like constantly in frame, I really liked. You know, like I said, the doll is like one of the creepiest parts of the movie. I mean, I think that house in general was creepy too. Like I'm not a huge fan of animal heads on the wall. But like the doll, it's just, it's like this perfect balance of like all the creepy features of dolls, and then at the same time it kind of does look like a real little kid. So
Yeah.
just, I think the way they framed some of the shots, that so that it was always in there. Again, the ones where like you see the doll and it's like it's listening in, and then at the same time too, it's like in a different pose than it would have been when she laid it down, because she almost always lays it down on its back and gives it a kiss goodnight, and then you see it later and it's like laying on its side with its hand under the pillow, but you never see it move. She didn't pose it that way, but that's how it's laying. So I liked some of those creepy shots a whole lot, and just I thought the cinematography was really good for this movie. I think there were some really good creepy shots in it.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Justin, what do you think?
So for me, other than what you guys have really touched on, is the one shot that sticks out to me, like I mentioned before, was when he comes out of that mirror. I don't know, for a split second I was like, is this going to be like a monster? But no, I mean, I really don't have anything to say that you guys haven't said.
Yeah. And then for cons, like I said, we just kind of always hop in. For me, there's a really big con, and I thought it was a very strange over-sexualization of Greta, Lauren Cohen's character, and I didn't think it did anything to develop the plot or develop her character. And there's a couple of scenes, like when the movie first starts off, it shows the cabbie like trying to take a peek down her shirt. I don't see any reason for that at all. Like, because the cabbie doesn't come back. Like, I thought maybe the cabbie was going to come back and be kind of creepy. Nothing with that. There was like the underwear scene and like the prolonged like shower scene. And for people who don't know, this is a PG-13 movie, so you aren't seeing anything. It's just like prolonged shots, and then like the towel scene where it doesn't move around. Like, I feel like they were trying to get Lauren Cohen to look as attractive as possible because she is very, very gorgeous. But I don't think it did anything for the movie, and I feel like it was a bad cinematic choice. At least that's why I'm putting it here instead of in plot. Like, I just don't think it did anything to develop the plot, and it didn't do me anything other than to say, hey, look how beautiful Lauren Cohen is. The other con I had for it was that there was a couple of jump scares that fell flat. Like, you could tell they were trying to do it, and they just didn't land. And for me, I put that in the cinematography over how scary. That's an entirely different thing, because if you filmed it right, it would have scared me, and there were times when it just didn't.
The only one that really, well, okay, two things. The attic scene, I kind of knew, like, even though it was only a flash, I was instantly like, okay, yeah, that's just a jacket. Like, I don't know, it was the way it was lit or something. Like, it didn't, that one fell flat for me. And when you could see, when he brought the plate with like a peanut butter and jam sandwich, I don't know, for some reason that to me was like, I don't know, it looked weird.
It wasn't scary. I mean, it was cool, but it wasn't scary.
Yeah, like I feel like it was meant to come off as like, oh, like the doll's moving, this is terrifying. But...
yeah, and we could dive into more of that and how scary too. But yeah, I do agree. How about you, Matt? What cons do you have?
Yeah, kind of like you said, just some of the like, again, the dream sequences. Like I'm with on Justin on them kind of like using that to sell the whole like kind of haunted house sort of thing, where it's like even bothering her while she's asleep. Like, I mean, part of it too was just like a lot of those jump scares were in the trailer. Like, that drives me nuts when it's like you watch a trailer for a horror movie and every single jump scare is in the trailer, so you know it's coming.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why, like I talked about before, it's part of the reason why I don't like watching trailers, because I feel like they're trying to sell the movie to you, and in an attempt to do that, they kind of put their best stuff out there when they really shouldn't. Yeah,
and they're getting even worse about it now. It's like you see the whole movie before the movie comes out.
Yeah,
I like obsessively watch the trailers.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And then Justin, do you have anything else to add to the cons?
No, not really. Again, like this movie was very just middle of the road for me.
All right. Well, for me, I gave it a 7 because, like I said, I really did think it was shot very well, and I really liked how they kept the doll's point of view like hidden, so you never saw the doll moving. And I think that it was because of the way it was filmed that the twist was so powerful. So I actually gave it a 7 for cinematography, taking out the points because I thought the over-sexualization just didn't need to happen, and the flat jump scares. Justin, what did you give it?
So I actually just went with the 6.5. It just kind of middle of the road. I don't have anything great to say about it, but I don't have anything too negative either. So,
all right, cool. And then Matt, what do you got for us?
Well, apparently I'm very generous because I gave it an 8. Mostly because I thought that was like the best part of the movie, were the different, again, the just the shots of like the dummy in the bed, and just they just had a lot of like really good creepy angles, and like you said, the point of view of the doll, you never really see the doll move, anything like that. I didn't have a whole lot negative to say as far as like how the movie was shot.
All right, so now let's move on into audio. Justin, how about you go first? What are your pros for the audio?
I'm just going to keep this nice and short. The environmental audio was good. I'm going to toss my con in here too, but I also think that there wasn't enough audio. Like, there wasn't enough tension building audio. For me, it was just like the creaks and cracks of the house, and I don't know, like, I don't really have, like, again, very middle of the road, nothing great, but nothing horrible to say. So
I'm pretty middle of the road on it too. I mentioned before that it doesn't really, like, nothing really stands out to me.
Yeah.
As far as pros, there are two scenes with the audio that do stand out to me. One of these is kind of a stretch, and that was Brahms's voice on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because after seeing the twist in the movie,
yep,
and going, oh, that's still his voice, that is super creepy.
Yeah, I actually have that as one of my pros too. It's funny you brought that up. Yeah, I have that too.
That was like, that scene stuck out to me. And then again, the scene where the doll gets broken and you hear the pounding in the walls, like, I still was on board for like, haunted spirit is now, boom, here comes this full-grown guy through the mirror. Like, those two scenes stood out to me audio wise, but other than that, I don't remember any of the music, anything else like really creepy. Like, it just seems like most of the movie was kind of silent in my memory.
Yeah, you actually hit a lot of the pros for me. The big pro for me, and it's the reason why this score for me is a little bit higher than I think maybe you guys' might be, is that I thought Lauren Cohen was awesome. It's the first time I've actually seen her like take the lead in a film or anything, and I thought she did really well. I thought she sold being afraid. I thought she sold her feelings towards her ex-husband. Like, I thought she did just a brilliant job when it came to all that stuff. And then you brought up the little boy voice. That was terrifying. Then the environmental sounds, in particular with the house. Yeah. But in the cons, like you already mentioned a couple of them already, Matt, but I didn't think that there was no memorable score, and I actually talked about that with The Conjuring. It's kind of a thing for me, whereas I like, for a good horror film, like, it doesn't need to be played throughout, but there should be like a hook. There should be something when I hear it, it takes me to the movie, like with Halloween or The Shining or whatever. And there wasn't any of that. And then one negative I had too is that I almost had to turn the subtitles on because sometimes the grocery man's accent was a little hard for me to understand. I never actually did, but it was hard sometimes to understand him.
Well, I will point something out to you, Larry. When you have kids, you learn that you need subtitles on everything.
How about you guys? Do you have any cons? Other than what we've already touched on?
I think I touched on them like at the same time I was giving my pros. It was just like not memorable.
Yeah.
That just there's parts, and then I don't remember any music at all, like in the movie.
Yeah. All right. So with all that being said, Justin, what did you give this for audio?
I give it a 5.
Okay, Matt?
I gave it a 6.
Oh, I was a generous one this time. I actually gave it an 8. I really, really thought that Lauren Cohen's, her portrayal was brilliant. I really did like it, and I did like the creepy little boy voice. And yeah, I mean, there was no memorable score, but I thought that her acting and then just how creepy that doll and his potential voice was terrifying. So I did like that. So now for the best part of the podcast, when it comes to reviews, is how scary did we find it? We can all just kind of hop in at once. I don't mind going first. I really didn't find it that scary. To me, this was more of a thriller than a horror. The doll was creepy, but not seeing it, like, it didn't really do anything. Like, it never did anything that was threatening or menacing. And I don't know, like, there were parts, like, I did jump during the dream sequence that you mentioned earlier, Matt. Like, when the doll's head turned real quick, I definitely jumped during that. But to me, the film came across more like a thriller than it did a horror. And so I did not get quite a few points for that. How about you guys?
I don't like dolls, so like I said, there was just this level of creepiness throughout the entire movie for me. Saying that, having watched The Conjuring now last week and seeing that for the first time, like, comparing it, the scariness level definitely dropped. That, that one part did make me jump, because at that point I had kind of like relaxed into the fact that you weren't going to see the doll move, and then it did. Like, I totally didn't pick up on it being a dream. Maybe it was obvious, but like, I didn't catch it. That did make me jump, and like I said, I thought that the doll was very creepy. Once you find out that it's a man, it was creepy for a different reason at that point.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was like scary. Like, the doll didn't scare me anymore. Like, I paused the movie several times and like got up to go to the bathroom and stuff, and like I kept picturing that doll being around the corner, like when I would go upstairs or something like that, and it was creeping me out. And then after the movie was over, I was like, it's just a doll,
Like for me, I agree with you a lot. Like I think that the guy hiding in the wall isn't as scary to, I don't know, like men, because when I watched it with my fiance, like she found this movie far scarier than I did. And I would love to get like a female's, like I would love to get like a female's perspective. I think it's a lot different for a woman thinking that you have someone living in your walls and watching your every move. Like I especially when you're isolated. I wonder if that comes across scarier to them than it does to us. I mean, it's just an idea. Like maybe it doesn't, but like I said, she did tell me that it was scarier than what I thought it was.
Well, actually, I still did find that part scary, like the thought of a guy living in my walls. Like there were a couple of times, because I watched it like right before I went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like just once I realized that that's what was going on, the doll didn't bother me as much anymore. Like the thought of a haunted doll was much scarier to me than the thought of like a guy in my wall, I guess, because like I can stab a guy in my wall. I can't do anything but a ghost.
The way it was presented in this film, I don't think it was that scary, because you were focused on the doll, and then when it wasn't the doll, I feel like a lot of tension kind of came out, and that's when it became a thriller more than a horror.
So there is one thing I need to say about the ending of this movie. It doesn't really have to do anything with the scariness factor, but the way that doll was smashed. So first thing, when they smashed that doll, I thought like the kid's ashes were in it or something, and that's why it was so dusty. But then that, I guess, grown-ass man is very meticulous, because he got that doll looking almost perfect. Yeah, I guess with no parents anymore.
I meant to mention that as a con, too, actually, was that I hated that shot at the end where it comes back in and he's still alive and he's put the doll back. Just, there was no need to set it up for anything else. Like, I feel like it would have just been creepier if they had just left it unanswered.
Yeah, or like shown the dolls like scattered like pieces in the living room, and then like go to the eye and cut out. Like I think it could have done a lot better that way too. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, and for me, like, I don't know. This movie wasn't scary. I will say, I enjoyed it a lot more at the end. Not necessarily for a scary factor, but more just kind of like, oh, that's kind of creepy. Like, ugh. But I don't know.
Yeah, but with all of that, Matt, what did you give this out of 10?
Well, I'm starting to think I was generous again, because I did give it a 7.5.
7.5?
Yeah, just again, I don't like creepy dolls.
It's okay. Justin, what did you give it?
Oh, I gave it a 2.
Holy crap! Oh my gosh, you're brutal. I gave it a 5.5. Thought that was fair. A 2? That's only 1 point above Ginger Dead Man.
No, I don't know. There's like, I'm not a huge creepy doll person either, but there was some points where, I don't know, just the doll made me laugh. I don't know. I don't know if it's because I watched it with my wife, but I don't know. Some parts I couldn't help but laugh. And to me, that, like, as soon as I laugh at what is supposed to be scary, it just kind of ruins the whole movie for me.
Okay.
I kind of get what you're saying too, just because like once she started following the rules, it was almost like the menacing aspect of the doll was gone. Like nothing really happened. Like she just was like carrying a doll around the house, and
yeah, but only a point above Ginger Dead Man. I mean,
that is pretty brutal.
Hey, it's how scary it was to me, okay? And that's not very.
Let us run through the score summaries. For plot, I gave it a 6, Justin gave it a 6, and Matt gave it a 6.5. For cinematography, I gave it a 7, Justin gave it a 6.5, and Matt gave it an 8. When it came to audio, I gave it an 8, Justin gave it a 5, and Matt gave it a 6. And when it came to how scary, I gave it a 5.5, Justin gave it a unbelievable 2, and Matt gave it a 7.5. So Matt's official score for this film is a 70%, which is a C-, but when we average mine and Justin's scores, which I gave it a 66 and Justin gave it a 49, it takes the score to a 57.5%, which will round up to a 58%, which is an F. So...
Oh, wow.
So there you go. I can honestly tell you the reason why I got an F is because Justin killed it with the How Scary score. It is our first official rating of season 2, but we can compare it to last season. It is now our third scariest movie reviewed on the podcast. Conjuring being a number 1, followed by The Shining, then The Boy, with Ginger Dead Man bringing up dead last with a 14%. It will be interesting to see if we find one that can do worse.
So I do want to say that I feel like this movie is the perfect bridge between the two seasons. Starting off with you thinking it's a ghost story, and
yeah, I agree 100%. And I did enjoy it. I would watch it again. Would I recommend it to scare a friend? I think so. Like if I knew somebody who wasn't like that into horror, but they kind of wanted to dip their toes into it, I do think I would recommend this one as one to kind of start your venture into horror.
I don't know if I would, not because it's a bad movie, but I feel like there is.
Well, let's say the person wasn't a big fan of horror films. Like I know one of our patrons, like in a light, he isn't a very big horror film fan. I think this is the kind of movie I'd recommend to him because it isn't all that scary, but it definitely whets your appetite.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. I mean, if I'm trying to scare somebody, even if they aren't into horror, I would give them like a Halloween or something instead. I don't know.
All right. How about you, Matt? Would you recommend this one to scare somebody?
I don't know that I would like recommend it to scare anyone, despite how I said it was scary. Like I still would like recommend. I actually did, like I told one of my sister-in-law, actually, I told her that she should watch it because I thought it was a cool movie. But as far as like being scary, I don't know. I think there's definitely scarier movies that I'd recommend if you're like looking for being scared in a movie.
All right. Well, there you have it, guys. We're going to wrap up the main topic and head on into emails and reviews. So apparently our punishment last week of making you guys listen to the Wiggles worked out, and we did get a review this week. I do think, Justin, that's a good way to punish the audience, and I think in the future what we'll do is we'll get a list of like earworm songs, like songs that you'll hear like a riff off of.
Okay. Hey, okay. So just so you know, that song is called Skeleton Scat, and it's like it's one of the better.
Okay, so yeah, that's Justin's point of view, but yeah, I will punish the audience with earworms. So start sending stuff in. But we do have a review this week. It comes from Colin M. Parker. It's a 5-star review, and it says, "Here's a review. I think the chemistry between the hosts is really solid and definitely a passionate topic for them as well. Since it's only the first season, I won't hold things like sound quality against them, but I think that if it got tightened up, this show would be some true horror fire. Keep it up." So first, thank you, Colin. Like, we really appreciate it, and I'm not sure if it's obvious to listeners this episode. I hope it is, but I actually went out and bought a Snowball Ice. I was using my Beats to record, but now I actually have my own dedicated...
Off of
Bluetooth, but now have
off your phone.
Off my phone. Yes, thank you for calling me out, Justin. But I do now have a dedicated microphone with a pop protector, and I'm hoping it sounds better. So yeah, maybe just shoot us an email. You don't need to obviously wrote a review. If you shoot us an email, let me know if it sounds better. But yeah, moving into season 2, we are working on improving things, and that is one of the things we're trying to improve.
Yeah, and like even myself, like I just have a budget. It's like a newer -N70 mic, but I also upgraded to a Samsung G Track Pro. It was a little pricey, so I hope that works out. We're trying.
Do you want to talk about your specs real quick, Matt?
Yeah, you mean my fancy Bluetooth headset that I'm using on my phone? I got a Plantronic something 500, I think. It's a refurb, but it was $20, and I'm actually pretty pleased with it, despite the fact that it's not fancy.
You know what? For a $20 mic, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. Yeah, and guys, I mean, if you really want the sound quality to get better, just start donating a ton of money on Patreon, and me and Justin will rent out a studio and fly and see each other once a week and record that way. So...
yeah, I think that goal would be like $10,000 a month.
But that is on you guys, but we will try our best to get better. Thank you for the review. It's very appreciated. We want to continue to get better, and it is through your criticism that we do. So with that being said, we're going to wrap this up and head on into closing. Well, guys, it's closing time again. time to wrap things up. And next week, when we have our next episode, it will be the official first episode of season 2.
It's exciting going into the second season. I think we learned a lot from season 1. Even through like the listener feedback, like it helped a lot, and I think we're coming into season 2 really strong.
Matt, did you have fun being on the show with us? Were we engaging and fun?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I loved it.
Next week, like I said, it is the first episode of season 2, the official first episode of season 2, but it is a special again, this time focusing on director John Carpenter, most famous for, sure you know, Halloween and The Thing. And our question of the episode is, what is your favorite John Carpenter film?
Also, along with that, hopefully, if everything works out good, we should have a teaser for what is to come in season 2.
And that will play at the end of the episode.
Yes, and it's going to be kind of like a guessing game.
So basically, we're going to be playing some songs, some themes that we think should very much give away what's to come. But we are actually going to officially announce the games and movies that are going to be reviewed next episode, so you won't have to guess too long.
I think some of them, more than others, are going to instantly give some of them away. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and also one other thing to look forward to with season 2 is that Justin and I have been talking, in order to get the podcast to continue to grow and to reach more people, we are going to have a Here's Johnny podcast contest throughout season 2. And the purpose of this contest is to help our podcast continue to grow. And the reward is going to be the top 3 listeners who accumulate the most points are going to get a Here's Johnny season 2 t-shirt with a season 2 logo on it that was designed by Josh Frioli, our artist who we commissioned to do the work. If you go on the website on Tuesday, I'll have a list of all of the ways you can earn points. I'm going to have a Excel file where I keep track of everything. And yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's a really good way to reward our listeners while also having our show grow. What do you think, Justin?
As soon as we got our art, like I went ahead and made some stuff for myself. And I got like a mug and stuff, and I'm probably going to go back and make a shirt.
make at least 3 shirts. We got to get those out as contest prizes. But with all that, we'll go ahead and wrap up some plugs and get on out of here. So if you want to follow the show on Twitter, it's at Here's Johnny Cast, and if you want to follow me, it's at BeaverLA.
And if you want to follow me, it's at Pickle Thing. As always, the link for the Discord will be in the show notes. You can also look us up on Facebook at Here's Johnny Podcast.
The easiest way to get a hold of the show is through email, and that email address is here'sjohnnypodcast@gmail.com. And in the show notes, you'll find the link to our website where you can find everything from the blog to the master list to the review scores to the contest notes. It's all on there for you to find.
Yeah, and you can also look us up on YouTube at, well, again, Here's Johnny Podcast. We've kind of got some stuff going on behind the scenes that hopefully I can get together. And
yeah, and also, Justin, this is a perfect time for you to talk about your big news.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so mostly I want to thank all the listeners because of you guys, I actually got given a press pass to go to a gaming con in Toronto. It's the EGLX con. It's apparently the largest gaming convention in Canada, and that is going to be on October 26th. So far, they haven't really said a lot of what's going to be there, but I know, earlier today, Matt actually pointed out to me that Pokemon's going to be there. Apparently, Resident Evil 2 might be there, which is
the big hope for us.
Oh my God, yeah. That's the huge hope. But yeah, they're going to have like a lot of video games and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll discuss that on the podcast, but the other big thing to note is that Justin is planning on doing a video blog, so you can kind of see his journey throughout there.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's actually always kind of been a dream of mine to get to go to one of these things as press, and well, thanks to you guys, I get to. So thanks.
The show's also on Instagram. You can hop on there and follow the Here's Johnny Podcast. That way you can go ahead and check out behind the scenes stuff, and you can look at links to the blogs and to the podcast episode when the new episodes drop. It's also where we'll be displaying our new art and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and if you want to support the show, you can always head over to patreon.com/Here's Johnny Podcast, and we've got a lot of fun tiers. I mean, Matt got to join us here on a review for a movie that he picked, and maybe one day somebody will pick a game for us to pick, a scary game, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. But with that, Matt, as our guest, as our patron, and as someone who really appreciate, why don't you send us on home?
All right. Well, remember, if you don't follow the rules, a creepy doll will make you a sandwich.
You guys, going camping?